My husband Aaron and I started going to Grace in probably 2000, right after our son was born. And we moved around quite a bit after we got married and moved to Hamilton County. It wasn't until about 2003, 15 years ago, that we moved to Noblesville and settled with our kids here.
I grew up in Noblesville and went to Butler for college, and my husband Gene and I moved back home after we got married. And once we had our first son, we decided we wanted to live in a neighborhood that was established and had children. So we found Wellington and lived here, and we've been here ever since. And I first met Amy. She was our greeter. She came over with cookies and welcomed us to the neighborhood. So our relationship was pretty neighborly, casual. We'd see each other outside. We'd talk for 5-10 minutes at street parties.
A lot of times our people on our street would just spontaneously say, hey, we're going to have a fire pit outside, and families would come out and just visit over really nothing, very simple things, but nobody was doing anything, so we all got together and
just kind of like a hangout, just neighbors getting together.
I think it was during that time, though, that I really started to appreciate the mother that I saw in Anne, and we didn't have really any direct connection other than I just really respected her and thought a lot of her and enjoyed visiting with her. She cracks me up.
I think then when our relationship turned is when my husband, Gene, had emergency back surgery in 2011. He was hospitalized for 7 days, and we weren't quite sure what the outcome was going to be. And in that moment, I was lost. I felt overwhelmed. I had 2 small kids at home. They had no idea what was happening to their dad. I didn't know how to explain it. I had come home from the hospital to be with the kids, and Amy met me in the cul-de-sac, and I took one look at her and I just started crying because I was so overwhelmed.
Yeah, I remember you saying you were so concerned about the boys. You knew that the doctors were going to take care of Gene, but just being afraid for the boys. And I just remember saying, don't worry about your boys. I'll be praying for them. And I know that was the first time for me. I think you knew I went to church and all that, but I had never crossed a line of talking about prayer or anything, and I really did mean it. I felt like there was nothing I could do to help, and so I just continued to pray for her boys, and I think...
And she did. She gave me a hug, and not only did I know that she was going to pray for my boys, but she said a prayer in the cul-de-sac for myself and for my husband. And as I turned to go back inside, I remember feeling, okay, this is one more step I can handle. So I don't think I realized at that point that was Jesus walking with me. I thought maybe, okay, Amy's got this, not necessarily Jesus, which is kind of convoluted now that I verbalize it. But I knew that I could count on her.
My perspective of that is I turned and I felt sick and sad for everything that she was going on, but at the same time I was like, I can't believe I just told her I was going to pray for her, which of course I was. I mean, but to cross that line in our relationship, I was a little nervous. And then really, Gene healed. He's doing great. And not that our relationship, it just kind of grew, but not spiritually at all for another almost 2 years.
Yeah. She asked me for coffee, which was very strange because I don't drink coffee. And it was...
And that's never anything that we've ever done in our relationship.
Never.
Yeah.
We always meet outside, talk about the children. And I thought maybe something was going on and she wanted to talk. So we go to Starbucks. Behind the scenes, she had no idea what was going on in my life and how depressed I was. And... very dark period of my life. And we go to Starbucks, we get our tea and coffee, and she's like, Anne, how are you? Just how she would any other day. And I just started sobbing, and I was like, I'm not good. I don't know what's wrong. I'm not happy. I love my family. I love my children. I'm missing. Something missing. I'm missing. I don't know who I am. And then
Well, then I asked you only because I think I said, well, God just kicked open the door. And I said, our church has something called the
Yes.
Way of Discipleship, but it's pretty much, will you follow me as I follow Jesus? And I think that may have been the first time that I even ever said Jesus' name
in front of me.
in front of you.
Yes. Yes.
I sometimes feel like these are two totally different stories because that's what was happening for her. But for me, I had no idea that was going on. It was back in October and was getting close to finishing up discipling a couple of other women. So I knew that I needed to be keeping it going and finding somebody else. And so I've been praying about it, and God kept saying, why don't you ask Ann? Why don't you ask Ann? And I pretty much ignored that because it just, love her, would love to spend time with her, but we've just never had that in our relationship. And it was a couple months because it wasn't until early January. And finally, it got to the point where I knew I had to and I didn't know why. And so I think right before we went out, I texted some prayer folks and said, okay, I'm going to my neighbor's. I have no idea what she's going to say. Of course, you guys had the end of the story now, so it's wonderful, but that wasn't the feeling that I had. I was so afraid of losing what we already had. I don't know that I was concerned about what she would think of me. I know that I probably did, but I think I was just more concerned, what if she says no? What's going to happen to our relationship? And I think I was more afraid of losing something rather than seeing what all could be gained, not just for her, but, oh my gosh, for me.
In that moment when she said, will you follow me as I follow Jesus? And she handed me this envelope, and I was just like, envelope, and Jesus just kept replaying in my head. And I'm all in. I'm all in. And she's like, well, take it home, read the packet, we can talk about it later. I was like, I don't want to. I'm missing. I have a hole, I have a void. I didn't grow up with a strong spiritual background. We were more of the Easter Christmas family. Not that I didn't believe in God or that there wasn't, Jesus out there. I just didn't know how. I didn't know what it looked like. And for me, that was Jesus sitting on the table, in between us, handing over that envelope, saying, I'm here. I'm walking with you. And that was the eye-opener for me. And from that point, been all in since. So
Fabulous.
yeah, truly life-changing.